Is there a smoking gun in the Trump-Epstein saga? Well, that's the subject of our stunning story today. A former judge at Trump's infamous Miss Teen USA and Miss USA pageants has posted a legitimate bombshell. Welcome to Occupy Democrats, and please hit that subscribe button, well, if this gives you the creeps too.
Fine. You sound so beautiful and cute. How old are you?
I'm 8.
Wow.
Okay, in our breaking story today, a post went up just hours ago by a former judge in Trump's controversial Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pageants. He may well have connected businessman Trump with trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in a way we have not seen before. Now, let's get a little backstory on one of Trump's longest business ventures.
Donald Trump loves a beauty pageant. And by his own admission, he was no stranger backstage while owning parts of 3 different pageants for nearly 2 decades.
They're standing there with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
In 2001, Tasha Dixon was Miss Arizona, competing in the Miss USA pageant. She experienced this kind of awkward moment firsthand.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
Dixon was 18 at the time and says watching Trump storm into a dressing room was shocking.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention. Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant. So there's no one to complain to. Everyone there works for him.
In 2005, 4 years later, Donald Trump bragged to Howard Stern about what he could get away with since he owned the pageants. The conversation uncovered by CNN's K-File.
I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it.
You're like
everything is
doctor.
good.
Later in that same show, Trump is asked if he'd ever had sex with Miss USA or Miss Universe contestants.
Never comment on things like that.
Give us the
first letter of the country you had sex with.
How many letters are there?
This comes just weeks after Hillary Clinton brought up Trump's attacks on former Miss Universe Alicia Machado. Trump once described her as Miss Piggy and then told his Twitter followers to find her sex tape. And another video where Trump is seen interviewing Playboy playmates and basks in the glow of a question from CNN's Jeannie Mose.
And have you ever dated a playmate?
I refuse to answer that question.
On the grounds that it may be true?
It may be true.
Tasha Dixon says she's speaking out so voters can get a better understanding of Donald Trump's personality.
I'm telling you, Donald Trump owned the pageant for the reason to utilize his power to get, around beautiful women.
Yeah, you think? Well, the plot thickens in our very serious and kind of frightening featured clip. Now, what a former beauty contest judge has to say is absolutely jaw-dropping. As you'll see in a second, there are 2 people we haven't heard from in quite a while that figure in prominently to our featured story today.
Host Billy Bush is opening up about Donald Trump's infamous Access Hollywood tape during a new interview. The veteran TV host of the Hollywood program revealed on Rob Lowe's SiriusXM podcast that he flagged the president's lewd comments to his superior more than a decade before the scandal broke. The day of the filming in 2005, I called my producer and said, "You're not going to believe what Trump said. He's going after Nancy." All I said was Nancy O'Dell because I didn't hear the other stuff. Bush was referencing his Access Hollywood colleague O'Dell, and the other stuff seemingly refers to Trump's comments about grabbing women by the genitals.
What a guy. Okay, here's today's very somber and serious clip. Steve Seibold was in Trump's orbit for many, many years. Some of the stories he shared, they're lighthearted, but today's is going to make your blood run cold. We're going to run it on the other side of this by comparison.
So back in 1997, the Trump Organization became a client of ours. And so I'm at Mar-a-Lago, and Mr. Trump calls me across the ballroom. There's about 500 people in the ballroom. It's super loud, and I couldn't really hear. But all I heard was she works for Estee Lauder. And so I go over there, and he introduces me, and I shook her hand, and I said, "Well, nice to meet you. Have you been with the company a long time?" And she goes, "Well, I really am Estee Lauder." And I said, "Oh, that's great that you really identify. You must have been there your whole career." And she says, "No, I'm Estee Lauder." And Mr. Trump says, "No, this is actually Estee Lauder." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were a makeup. I didn't know you were a person." She goes, "Yeah, no, I'm a real person." So we laughed about that. I thought that was one of the funniest things. Super nice woman, Estee Lauder. Who knew it was a person?
Okay, here's our featured clip of the day, a chilling message. from one of Donald Trump's former beauty pageant judges, and he does not mince words.
When it comes to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, the media is missing the smoking gun. Now, I've sat on this information for years, and I really didn't want to get into this because this is not in my job description, and it's very dangerous to come out with this publicly. The smoking gun is Miss USA and Miss Teen USA, the pageants which Donald Trump owned for years. Now, how do I know? Because I was one of the judges in these pageants. I trained dozens and dozens of the winners and the runners-up in public speaking to promote their platform. This is all I'm going to say about this. If you're in the media and you're looking for information, start with Billy Bush. Billy Bush hosted the Miss USA, Miss Teen USA multiple times. Nancy O'Dell is another one. And then go down the rabbit hole from there. There are people that know a lot more than those two, but start there. They're celebrities, and start there, go down the rabbit hole. And I think what you're going to find is going to be very, very upsetting. Don't call me. I'm not going to comment. I'm not going on TV and talking about this. This is very dangerous to sit on. If you decide to pursue this in the media, be very, very careful. These people are dangerous.
Steve Seibold trained the winners and the runners-up in those beauty pageants. He was there. Now, where will all this lead? Well, only time will tell. But consider these two dots to connect. Both Lindsay Halligan and Erica Kirk have walked Trump's runway. And we'll just leave it at that.
Looking back, Erica's Miss Arizona and Miss USA experience was more than just a pageant journey. It was a training ground, a place where she developed the skills, confidence, and network that would shape her future public life. Public speaking, handling media, staying composed under pressure, all of that was honed during her pageant days. Whether you agree with her political views or not, her trajectory from state title holder to national commentator is a fascinating one. So, the next time you see Erica Francevay Kirk on a podcast or making headlines, remember that before the microphones and political debates, there were sequins, stage lights, and a crown.